Hello and welcome back to Behind the Post. I'm Addie Peters. This week I'm borrowing Olivia's host seat to interview and get to know Colin Day. Colin is Oktopost's Managing Director of EMEA and APAC, as well as the VP of Corporate Business Development. He is one of the many faces behind Oktopost and the Selfie King. So let's get right into it.
The Selfie King?
The Selfie King, I would say
okay.
So.
Thanks.
Colin, are you ready to go behind the post with me?
Let's go behind the post. Let's do it.
Amazing. Today we're touching on a few different topics, including employee advocacy, the current state of marketing, and developing your personal brand. But let's get to know you first. For our Behind the Post listeners, what does your role at Oktopost entail? What does your day-to-day look like?
No 2 days are the same, Addie.
I knew you would say this, Colin.
That, right?
I knew
no
it.
2 days are the same. I mean, look, today I find myself in a rather sunny Grand Rapids, Michigan, although it's snowing outside. But look, no 2 days really are the same. It's like from managing the EMEA and APAC teams, like we've grown that team considerably over the last 2.5 years since I've been here. Mm-hmm. We've gone from 2 employees in the UK to pushing on 19 now.
That's amazing.
So in those early days, it was all about finding the right talent, finding the right people, mm-hmm. Hiring the right people. Mm-hmm. If we look at that team now, it's really about how do we go about continually training them and educating them on what's happening in the marketplace, what's happening with the product, how does the product bring value to our amazing customers.
Yeah, well, I just have to say you've done an amazing job developing that team. I know that everyone in London and in that office is amazing and such an amazing part of Oktopost.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
I'll take that back to us.
Yes, please do. So let's get into the fun stuff. My first question is all about employee advocacy. What do you think makes employee advocacy one of the best tools for the modern day B2B marketer?
Yeah, so if I think about my journey with employee advocacy, Oktopost was founded in 2013. I used to be a client. Don't know if you know that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I class
little birdie told me.
Yeah, little birdie. I class this as my Remington moment.
Okay.
Right? And I don't know if you know Remington razors, but back in the 1980s, Victor Kian was the CEO and president of Remington razors, and he used to have a TV ad, or Remington had an ad that said, "Hey, I like the product so much, I bought the company." Well, I used to be a client. I liked the product so much, I couldn't quite afford to buy the company, so I joined it.
That's a good plan. I like that.
But how did I find Oktopost in the first place?
Yeah.
Right? It's like I used to work back then for a company called SunGard, so a large financial services or financial technology platform provider, and we were going through a sales transformation project, right? As we were readying ourselves for what ultimately became a trade sale, a liquidity event to a company called FIS.
Okay.
And back then, it's like as we were going through that sales transformation, we quickly identified that we needed to make some changes to the way that we marketed as well. 2014, around the time that I purchased Oktopost into SunGard, into our technology stack, was around the same time that LinkedIn had bought LinkedIn Sales Navigator to the market. Right, so social selling was becoming, it was becoming a talking point. Right, whether it was big at that point in time, it was evolving. Right? So from a SunGard perspective, as we were going through that transformation journey, we wanted to empower our employees and predominantly or initially our sales team, right, to get more active on networks such as LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. And we wanted them to do it in a safe space. So we wanted to control the narrative a little bit, right? We wanted to give them pre-approved content that they could then put out over their own personal networks, to help enforce them as brand ambassadors, but also be thought leaders, because people buy from people. People buy from people they like. People buy from people they know. And people are more likely to have a conversation, right, with an individual than they are with a brand. So that's how I got into the world of Oktopost and the world of social selling and the world of employee advocacy.
Yeah, that's really an interesting introduction. The fact that you added Oktopost to your MarTech stack and the fact that you loved it so much that you transitioned to being here, which I love, which is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So my next question, what do you recommend to do when trying to be a better employee advocate?
Yeah, so that's a great question. From an advocacy perspective, right? It's like, we're working in a world of social, right? Mm-hmm. Social media. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the clue I think is in that first word. Mm-hmm. First word even, right? I think the clue's in that first word, mm-hmm. social, right? So it's about being active, mm-hmm. and there are different ways that you can be active on social, right? It's like, you can post, right? You can also engage, right? Mm-hmm. And it's that engagement that is key, right? Mm-hmm. So it's about being active and being engaging, right? Yeah. So do it consistently, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, I really like that tip. I think that a lot of people, especially when starting their journey as an employee advocate, I think that they forget to also engage, which is just as important as almost posting, because you want to go in your network and engage with your connections and kind of start that conversation.
Yeah, it's also about being authentic, though, right? It's like it's got to be you, mm-hmm. and you got to remember that the people that are in your network, mm-hmm. they know you, mm-hmm. right? So, mm-hmm. Look, you're an American, right? No disrespect. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you create some of our employee advocacy content, mm-hmm. right?
Yes.
Yeah, you have this really annoying habit, yeah, of putting Zs. Right?
Zs?
Yeah, Zs in really strange places. Yeah, I use an S. You use a Z or a Z. Sorry,
a Z. Yeah. Oh, okay. The spelling.
Yeah, it's how you spell.
Okay.
So if I post that out, right?
Everyone's going to say Colin's making a typo.
Right.
Okay. So I'll keep that in mind.
It's about knowing your audience, right? It's like whether you're up on stage presenting at a conference or whether you're out on social presenting mm-hmm. a message, mm-hmm. or a thought leadership piece, mm-hmm. out to your network, right? It's about being authentic. It's about being you. It's about keeping it real.
Yeah, that's very true.
And sorry about the
that's
way
okay,
that you've.
But I'll keep that in mind next time. Just making sure that everything is universal.
You also use a lot of exclamation marks, but let's not go there, Addy.
We'll scale it back on the exclamation points. Okay, so we all know that the state of marketing is ever changing. So as a leader who often has conversations with marketing executives, what are they saying about where marketing is going, and what do you think is up next?
That's a great question. I think that a lot of conversation at the moment is, and it always has been across my career, right? It's like whether it's been from in the early days as a banker to product marketing or a product manager, mm-hmm. All the way through to leading part of Oktopost business now. It's always about how do you do more with less, mm-hmm. right? And I think that in difficult times, the first budget that always gets picked on and always gets squeezed is the budget of marketing, mm-hmm. right? Or the marketing budget. Mm-hmm. So are we going to see marketing budgets grow over the next 12, 18 months? Maybe not, right? It's like in some industries, maybe, but generally, maybe it'll be capped and frozen. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that I can't do different things with that same budget?
Yeah.
Right. So I think that what we're going to see over the course of planning for 2023, mm-hmm. is a review of those budgets and a review of how those funds are being invested and spent today, mm-hmm. and whether there's something that can be done differently with that investment in order to attain the goals and objectives of marketing, which should be the overall goals and objectives of the company. Yeah,
I think that makes a lot of sense, especially with everything that we've been seeing on social right now and people speaking up and talking about being laid off. And it can be really, I think, nerving for a lot of people who are in the marketing space to kind of have those conversations, but it's really interesting to kind of hear your perspective on that. Where do you think social is going to be going in 2023?
Yeah, so look, if we look at the role of social, right? There are different ways, that social plays a part, whether it be paid or whether it be organic, mm-hmm. right? Whether it be owned or whether it be earned on mm-hmm. the organic channel. Historically, there's been in certain industries that we work with, right, financial services, technology, etc. Mm-hmm. There's been a huge part of the marketing spend that has been directed to paid social, mm-hmm. right? because of the expanded reach, right? What you're talking about from an advocacy perspective, I think helps with that expanded reach, but it's organic, right? And therefore there's the initial spend or initial investment in a platform, but there's not the ongoing investment of the paid ad campaign. So maybe it's like what we're starting to experience with some of our customers is a pullback on some of the ad spend and a diversion of that into other activities such as organic social.
Yeah, I think I would completely celebrate that. I think that is such an amazing thing that people are focusing on things that are spending money on things that are going to increase their organic reach. I think that is what's going to be game changing for a lot of companies and brands in our space in the next year, and even within the last couple of years, where employee advocacy has become such a.
But also, Eddie, if you look at that, right, it's like it doesn't mean that it's one versus the other, right? It's with marketing, right? It's like it's not one channel versus another channel. It's not email versus physical versus social, right? It's like it's how do you blend them together, right? And that's where understanding, it's like how the marketing tactics that as a marketing function we're engaged in, how they're attributing to the overall success of the deal flow through the sales process. Once you've got a good understanding and good insight on that, it's like and what good looks like, the CMO then knows where to make those investments, right? So it's really like if we brought all of that together, it's understanding it's like the impact that each of the marketing tactics that you're deploying are having on the business, and then it's like doubling down on those that are working. On the organic versus paid versus organic, they go hand in glove as well, right? Because if I've got an organic strategy, right, and I know who's engaging with the content that I'm putting out through my corporate channel or through my advocacy channel, right? I can use that insight and that intelligence to actually then inform or influence my paid strategy, right? So I can use that insight and information in order to run maybe a retargeting program through paid.
All of that makes so much sense. I'm already learning so much from you. This is really interesting. And I think the fact that everything you just explained really just proves that marketing is a bunch of different scales, and they all have to be balanced at some point, somehow.
Yeah, and it's not all one or the other, right? It's like it is how do you balance to get equilibrium? And sometimes you can't get equilibrium.
Yeah, that's very true. So this next topic is one that I'm really excited about. Being in my first position post-grad, I really want to develop my personal brand on social as well as in the workplace. So for those who might not know you, you have a very strong and established personal brand on LinkedIn. How have you developed that over the years, and what would you recommend for someone just starting out?
So I think this is
too many questions in one.
Tough question. So I used to work for SunGard, as I said, right? And picking up on personal brands. One of SunGard's president and CEOs was a gentleman by the name of Chris Condy. So Chris, this is a shout out to you. But Chris had a brand where he would always wear a bow tie. Right? Oh, is that a brand? I don't know.
I
it's
would
a thing,
consider
right?
it something. Yeah,
right?
It's about him.
So it's about him, right? So always used to wear a dicky bow. And one time he turned around and said, "Hey, I'm going to go out to the shop and buy a normal tie."
Wow.
Right? Our CMO at the time, Brian Robbins, this is a shout out to you. Brian forbade him. Brian's like, "Chris, that's your brand.
That's your brand.
That's what you're known for. That's what's synonymous to you." He looked very much like me. So without his dicky bow, he just would have been
he
Colin
looks like
Day.
Colin.
Right? So what's the moral to that story? The moral to that story is like early in my career, I had people around me that had strong personal brands, such as Chris and his bow tie, and that's what I looked to really anchor in on. As I've grown my career and grown my presence. For me, it's all about the socks.
It's all about the socks.
It's all about the socks.
That's amazing.
Right? But You don't see those on social
Yeah,
that much,
yeah.
apart from when we're taking selfies or
showing someone else
someone else is showing their socks off.
Yeah.
But to me, it's about what works for you, right? It's like is it socks? Is it bow ties? Is it the way you enunciate things? Is it the way you dress? The way you coif your hair? It's like some of us are better at that than others. But it's about like finding the you, and then doing it consistently and sticking with it and building upon it.
I really like that. I think that I definitely have a long journey to go and kind of establishing that brand, especially online. And I think that even kind of having those relationships and establishing yourself in the workplace is also an amazing way that people have established their personal brand.
It's about keeping it real as well, though, right? It's like, hey,
you can't think about it too much,
You can't, right? It's like, otherwise you I don't know, you overemphasize it and then it doesn't become real.
It doesn't feel real,
right? It's like, so it's got to be right, it's got to be real, it's got to be authentic, and that's the same with, out on social, right? It's like, going back to your actual, question. It wasn't really about my socks. It was about being like, establishing that brand on social or establishing that presence, and it's about like, as we said at the top of the session. Right, it's about doing it consistently. It's about doing it, in a authentic and real fashion.
Do you think that establishing your personal brand early on has had any or a positive impact on your career?
So I'm really old.
No, you're not.
If I established
Colin.
it really early on, it's like social actually wasn't around then.
Okay,
like when I started work, we didn't even have mobile phones. We used to walk around with big pages on our hips. And it was really hip, dude, and trendy, right? to have a pager, right? So establishing like a personal brand, like today, I think is much easier, right? Or it's different, right? You're doing it on a broader scale, right? Because we can reach so many people, like across so many different geographies and time zones at any one point in time. People can consume that content, right, as and when they want to consume it. Whereas when I started out, it's like back in the late 80s,
that's not that long ago.
When were you born? No, let's not get it. It's like when I started out my career, right, it's like for the first couple of years, my travel was all UK based, right? It's like so my sphere of influence, right, was a smaller pool and smaller community than
what it is now.
than what you've got access to, right? It's like you don't have to travel outside of Grand Rapids to be able to connect with people in Brazil or it's like the Philippines or the UK, right? You can do it through this thing called a computer screen. Yeah,
that's really interesting. Kind of, I should have thought about that, kind of just that comparison between how different it is joining the workforce when there wasn't social and compared to now, because it is truly completely different.
Yeah, social back in my day was a Friday night, like after work, going to a pub.
To a pub. No, that's very true. And I think that that's also just interesting to hear your perspective on establishing a personal brand, that it's truly about being you and it's about being authentic, because if you aren't, then you're gonna have to keep that up, and no one's gonna really
easier when you're like behind a piece of glass, right? But you're still gonna have to go out and meet people, right? And that's when if your online persona is not your real persona, right, then you get found out quickly.
Yeah, very quickly. So this was such an amazing and insightful conversation, but I have one question left for you. Oktopost is a company of social gurus, so I just have one question. What is your favorite social media platform and why?
My favorite social media platform has to be LinkedIn.
I knew you were going to say it.
Has to be. I mean, look, you find me, I'm coming through Grand Rapids now on my way to Chicago, right, to go and meet with the good folks over at LinkedIn. Why LinkedIn versus, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram? Others do exist, right? It's like TikTok. Yeah, we've got...
Are you on it?
We've got... Just, and it's because of Olivia, who's one of our colleagues, right? It's like it's because of her dad. Yeah, so Tommy's in the kitchen, right? So like, this is a shout out for you, Tommy. Yeah, if anyone's on TikTok, go learn how to make a filet mignon. It's like with Tommy, but you know, really my favourite's LinkedIn. Why? It's where you know, the people that I work with, the people that I connect with, it's their you know, platform of choice, and therefore it's like you know, if I want to engage with them on a daily basis, like you know, that's the best place to be at. So you know, always present on LinkedIn.
That's very true. I think I would also agree with that. Recently, LinkedIn has become, it's moving towards the top. It's not quite yet my favorite social media platform, but
what is?
Ooh, I didn't think about that.
See, my grandparents would tell me, right, that they would tell me that I'm way too young for Facebook. Yeah,
no, you're not.
And my kids would tell me I'm way too old for Instagram.
Oh, that's not true.
Or
true.
Snapchat, or others do exist. Right?
I think I would have to say TikTok or Instagram. And it's hard because I think that, at least with my position here at Oktopost, I have kind of learned so much more about LinkedIn and grown to love it a lot more. But I think that I would still say TikTok and Instagram. But
that's an interesting one, right? Because I think it's then down to how you consume content, right? So, you know, TikTok, the media is video.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, if you're more of a visual person than a written word, you know, person, then it's like, yeah, maybe TikTok is the place to go. And that's the thing from a business perspective, right? And as a marketer, it's like, you know, it's, you've got to be omnipresent, right? So, you know, you've got to be, and the way that you present the brand or the way you present the organization across those different social platforms is going to be very different, right? It's like, you know, we use Instagram quite a lot at Oktopost, as you know, right? But more from an employee branding perspective, right? It's like, you know, getting our employees like messages out there. Yeah. Whereas, you know, we'll do more of the formal, it's like, you know, written material. And conversations on LinkedIn. Yeah, we'll do some of the more, you know, funny, funky stuff on TikTok.
On TikTok, on Twitter, like we usually do.
Yeah, so it's you know, stating the obvious, right? Different platforms for different means, right? Different horses for different courses.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much for joining me, Colin.
Addie, I'm going to flip it, right?
Flip it.
Like, I'm going to flip it on you, right? It's like, because everyone's used to seeing your face and everyone's used to, you know, being asked questions by you. Yeah. So I'm going to flip a question to you. Tell the audience one interesting thing about you that they couldn't find on your social channels. You can tell this wasn't prepared just by the length of time you're taking to think about it.
The thing that comes to mind first is I grew up in band. I don't know why. It's like the first thing that comes to mind for me, but I think that not a lot of people know that about me. I grew up playing trumpet and I was in the band.
Wow.
What a random thought.
At the next Oktopost party, we're going to get you playing the trumpet.
It's going to be me. I'm going to be on music.
You and little Okti.
Me and Okti. Well, that was such an amazing conversation, Colin. Thank you so much for joining me. And thank you everyone for listening in, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thanks.